Well, it's like this. When an enchanter wants to annoy you, he generally turns you into an animal of some kind.
Belvane achieved her first blush since she was 17.
It is a humorous way they have,
she said.
But suppose you really were an animal altogether. It wouldn't annoy you at all. An elephant isn't annoyed at being an elephant. He just tries to be a good elephant, and he'd be miserable if he couldn't do things with his trunk. The annoying thing is to look like an elephant, to have the very complicated, inside of an elephant, and yet all the time really be a man.
They were all intensely interested. Woggs thought that it was going to lead up to a revelation of what sort of animal Prince Udo really was, but in this she was destined to be disappointed. After all, there were advantages in Udo's present position. As a man, he had never been listened to so attentively.
Now, suppose for a moment I am a lion. I have the delicate apparatus of a lion, but the beautiful thoughts and aspirations of a prince. Thus there is one side of me which craves for raw beef, but none the less there is a higher side of me.
He brought his paw up toward his heart.
Which, well, you know how you'd feel about it yourself.
The princess shuddered.
I should,
she said with conviction. Belvane was interested, but thought it all a little crude.
You see the point,
went on Udo.
A baby left to itself doesn't know what is good for it. Left to itself, it would eat anything. Now, turn a man suddenly into an animal, and he is in exactly the same state as that baby.
I hadn't thought of it like that,
said Hyacinth.
I've had to think of it. Now, let us proceed further with the matter.
Udo was thoroughly enjoying himself. He had not had such a time since he had given an address on beetles to all the leading citizens of Araby at his coming of age.
Suppose again that I am a lion. I know from what I have read or seen that raw meat agrees best with the lion's organization, and however objectionable it might look, I should be foolish not to turn to it for sustenance. But if you don't quite know what animal you're supposed to be, see how difficult the problem becomes. It's a question of trying all sorts of horrible things in order to find out what agrees with you.
His eyes took on a far-away look, a look in which the most poignant memories seemed to be reflected.
I've been experimenting,
he said,
for the last 3 days.
They all gazed sadly and sympathetically at him, except Belvane. She, of course, wouldn't.
What went best?
she asked brightly.
Oddly enough,
said Udo, cheering up a little,
banana fritters. Have you ever kept any animal who lived entirely on banana fritters?
Never,
smiled the princess.
Well, that's the animal I probably am.
He sighed and added,
There were 1 or 2 animals I wasn't.
For a little while he seemed to be revolving bitter memories, and then went on.
I don't suppose any of you here have any idea how very prickly thistles are when they are going down. May I try a watercress sandwich? It doesn't suit the tail, but it seems to go with the ears.
He took a large bite and added through the leaves,
I hope I don't bore you, Princess, with my little troubles.
Hyacinth clasped his paw impulsively.
My dear Prince Udo, I'm only longing to help. We must think of some way of getting this horrible enchantment off you. There are so many wise books in the library, and my father has composed a spell which... Oh, I'm sure we shall soon have you all right again.
Odo took another sandwich.
Very good of you, Princess, to say so. You understand how annoying a little indisposition of this kind is to a man of my temperament.
He beckoned to Wiggs.
How do you make these?
he asked in an undertone. Gracefully undulating, Belvane rose from her seat.
Well,
she said.
I must go and see that the stable...
She broke off in a pretty confusion.
How silly of me! I mean, the royal apartment is prepared. Have I your Royal Highness's leave to withdraw?
She had.
And Wiggs, dear, you two had better run along and see if you can help. You may leave the watercress sandwiches,
she added, as Wiggs hesitated for a moment. With a grateful look at her Royal Highness, Udo helped himself to another one. Chapter 11